Georgia has a huge advantage on the recruiting trail right now. I think that this thing is obviously one of the biggest reasons why Georgia gets all the good players that they really, really, really want to get. And obviously Kirby Smart is a built-in factor in this reason and the way he runs the program. But it's not what happens on Saturdays. It's what's happening on Sundays. And that's Georgia Bulldogs making big-time plays at big-time moments in the NFL. Getting to the NFL, having a chance to get to the NFL, is one of, if not, the biggest advantage that the Georgia Bulldogs have. You can nitpick, say, well, Kirby Smart's their biggest advantage. Being in Georgia is the biggest advantage. Having all that talent's the biggest advantage. Well, the reason why that talent goes there and stays there is because of that promise of the NFL. I'm going to say something. Look, especially in the offseason, I'm repeating myself here and there. Maybe a little bit more than here and there when we're talking about different things. I try to vary it. And something that I've said for a long time is that these college players, what is their goal? What was their dream when they were a little kid? I know what my dreams were. I wanted to win the dunk contest. I wanted to be in the NBA, right? That dream didn't work out for me. It wasn't to play college basketball. Obviously, that would have been something along the line. I wasn't even close to playing college basketball. That's not my point. But these guys, is it winning a Heisman? Is it going to play for Georgia? Is it going to play for Alabama? That's part of the dream. But the end goal and the dream is to make it into the NFL and to win Super Bowls. Georgia's got one of the largest streaks of having an active player on Super Bowl roster in consecutive years. But if you just Google, I had to Google this just so I can get it in front of my eyes. Georgia players in the NFL. It's a pretty sick output of high-level contributors in the league. And Kamari Lassiter, the reason why I made this point is the Georgia players that are in the draft, they're at the combine right now. They're getting ready to start doing their testing. They're meeting with teams. And Kamari Lassiter, they're doing interviews. Kamari Lassiter in an interview corner for Georgia now going on to the NFL. He said that Georgia prepared him in every way. And something that he said one time, the practices were harder than the games. And guess what? A lot of the Georgia players say Georgia's practices are harder than the games. Preparation, details. Those are the things that make Georgia really great. And the promise that you have a shot to get to the NFL if you come to the University of Georgia, that you arguably have a better shot than going to other places, that's just one of the biggest built-in advantages that you can have. When you go inside of the facilities and you're touring at Georgia, what do they have plastered all over the wall? Pictures of Todd Gurley, pictures of Nick Chubb, pictures of whoever it is, right? Just really good NFL players that went to Georgia. There are pictures of Mecole Hardman. That is one of the biggest advantages. Ryan Curley from Dawg here talking about mixing in the NFL as much as I can. We're talking about the Georgia football team. It's the best time of the year to do that. It's never not. I'm double negative. It's never not the best time to sign up for our newsletter if you haven't done that. Linked it down below in the description. Real quick, all you got to do is insert your email address and you get stories in your inbox every single day regarding the Georgia Bulldogs. Mecole Hardman just scored the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. A guy that really highly recruited player for Georgia, has a pretty solid Georgia career. Nothing extremely exceptional to where it was like eye-opening, but he was a heavy contributor on really good Georgia teams and a team that almost won the national championship that 2017 season. And in the NFL, he's a contributor, not a superstar or anything, right? But the dream is to make it to the NFL, and the dream is to win games and to win Super Bowls and to get the bag, and Mecole Hardman's doing those things. This is a guy that got traded in the middle of the season, comes back, and he gets the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. He's got rings. That's what it's about. Preparation. Georgia prepared us in every way. Something I've written about a little bit on the website recently as we do these position previews. The linebacker story was published this past Wednesday. I talk about cross-training and how you got guys like Jalen Walker play inside and out. Well, Georgia cross-trains a lot of football players, and they do it on the offensive line. They do it on the defensive line. They do it with the tight ends. They do it with the defensive backs. They cross-train everywhere. One of the things that prepares you the most is being able to be available in multiple spots and to excel in multiple spots. A great example is Jamari Salyer. He gets drafted late, right? This is a guy that slips to the 5th or 6th round. Didn't make sense to me 2 drafts ago. And the Chargers had just drafted a left tackle. And Jamari Salyer is a guy who played all over the offensive line for Georgia. He was prepared to do that. When someone was struggling, they could move him over and replace someone else. Jamari was all over the place on the offensive line. Well, in the NFL, right, he gets drafted to be a guard, really, and to provide depth for the Chargers. He's a late-round pick. Well, what ends up happening? Their brand-new first-round pick left tackle, Rashawn Slater, who's really good, gets injured. All of a sudden, Jamari Salyer is a pretty high-level left tackle in the NFL. Doing really well. What happens when Rashawn Slater gets back? Well, Rashawn Slater is one of the best tackles in football. So they put Rashawn Slater back there at tackle, and they move Jamari over to right guard. And guess what? He's really good at playing right guard. What's part of the reason, other than his talent? It's the fact that he trained in multiple spots at Georgia. Things that I talk about with Georgia are not always exclusive, but they're done at a really, really high level. And Kirby Smart is running a program that produces NFL talent. It's the way that it worked at Alabama. It works that way at LSU. It works that way at Ohio State. There's a few programs that pump these guys out, and Georgia just happens to be one of them. Think about this transfer portal season and how there were multiple guys. A lot of people did leave. A couple starters left, and Darius Smith and Jamon Dimas-Johnson. Not my point on them. My point is about Julian Humphrey. This is a guy who many people believe, including myself, is going to be a starting corner for Georgia this coming season. And he was flirting with leaving. It seemed like he decided he was going to leave Georgia in the transfer portal. He was going to head out after during the Orange Bowl process and all that. It's back and forth. What's Julian Humphrey doing? And then eventually he finally decides, I'm definitely staying. And what was the reason that Julian Humphrey cited? He cited that if I have a legitimate year at Georgia this year, that's a path to the NFL. That this is my best shot at the NFL. So I don't want, don't sit here and tell me that the NFL is not the end goal. And Georgia is preparing these guys for this. I'm just going to rattle off real quick tidbits about all of the players, and I watch a lot of football. These are the Georgia players that are contributing at a high level. These are NFL, legit starters. Ready? Lorenzo Carter is kind of a rotational piece. I'm going through this list. Roquan Smith, top 3 middle linebacker in the NFL. James Cook, one of the most versatile running backs in the NFL. And again, it's only getting better right now. Leonard Floyd, starting defensive end for the Buffalo Bills. Super Bowl contender. Nick Chubb, one of the best running backs in the NFL. Eric Stokes, starting defensive back. Quay Walker, one of the better linebackers in the NFL. Tyson Campbell, starting corner. Trayvon Walker, first overall pick. Quietly a really good outside linebacker. You go down the list, and these guys are contributors. Even ones that we thought maybe wouldn't be are starting to become that. Zamir White, starting to really come along at the end of the year. And I think he has a future as a starting running back in the NFL. And then you could go down to quote-unquote not-so-great examples. Chris Conley's been in the NFL for a long time. Just played in the Super Bowl, and he was making plays on special teams, left and right. You watched the Super Bowl, you saw Chris Conley making plays. You saw Charlie Warner out there making plays too on special teams. There's a selflessness about Georgia as well that's part of this preparation that we talk about. But my end point here is that the Georgia Bulldogs are contributing in the NFL. And the reason why people want to go to Georgia is to win games, make a little bit of money along the way, and go to the NFL. You got a really good chance to do it if you go to Georgia. It's preparing me in every way. That's what Kamari Lassiter said. Thanks for watching. Links are down below.